Welcome back, everyone, for the final time this series. We are here. We're still faithful to the Traitors, and we're here to discuss the big finale of the American series. We made it all the way through Series 1. I'm Ben. I'm still 100% faithful.
I'm Alex. I've thrown my red dust onto the fire because I believe there's still a traitor amongst us.
But I just voted to end the podcast.
Well, it's tough because I've voted not to, so now there's another vote, and it's between me, you, and the cat.
Then, isn't it?
No, it's okay. Charlie's bowed out, so it's fine. He's decided to. He's had enough. Oh my goodness, we were promised by a few people who got in touch with us that the final is one to remember. It didn't have had a few twists and turns, didn't it?
It did. It made me feel sick for about 20 minutes towards the end. Though.
I was so anxious at the very, very end, and I felt so.
I spent years trying to get rid of my anxiety.
I know, and it's just
now
brought
it's back again.
I know. I'm gonna have to stop drinking caffeine for a couple of days just to get myself back on levels that are suitable for my body shape and weight. Yeah. Oh my god. That's
Wild
mad.
ride.
Absolutely mad. I mean, the episode started how the last one ended with the first banishment of the episode. And that was between Christian and Kate, and we knew that there was going to be a tight vote. I was sure that it was going to be a draw because I was surprised when I saw Andy vote for Christian. I thought they were going to go for Kate. I was 100% sure they were going to go for Kate, and so there would be a revote.
He nearly made it. Well, he got into the final, the first 5 minutes, so he technically made it to the final episode.
Well, yeah, it was in episode 10.
But yeah, that was a... Bless him. I think the second Ari voted for him, a fellow traitor. You know, if a fellow traitor votes for you around a round table, your time is up because fellow traitors do not vote for fellow traitors unless it's like 100%
concrete.
You're going because it's too
out.
risky to go back up that turret. So I think he knew his fate then by the look on his face. And he kind of accepted. And he was quite. I feel he was quite relieved at the end. He was emotional and sad, but then he ended his VT to camera by saying, "But I'm most sad about losing the money."
Yes,
just to top that off. Not friends along the way, or the journey, or the missions and all the fun things they did.
Yeah, everything he learnt, his
journey. He was so close there to having a nice little. Because he was really upset, crying, red faced. Relieved that he could finally stop lying. I shouldn't have told lies.
Yep, he can go home.
And I was like, oh, Christian.
He's been a good guy.
And then he ended it with, but the thing that hurts the most is I don't have any money.
Because not even Kate, again, when later on the episode, even not even Kate said anything about the money. Well, I mean, during the challenge, she kept going like, come on, get the money.
She did talk about the money for about 9 episodes prior to this, though. Then she kind
of realised she made good friends. And she even...
Friends along the way.
But yeah, no, I mean, I felt bad for Christian. He was my second bet to win the show. From the beginning, I thought he had a strong case to win the show. But
I wonder how different it would have been if Ari went instead of Christian. What would Suri's rationale be to take the money for herself? Because she used Ari hasn't really deserved it. He's not worked as hard as me, but Christian was there from day one. I wonder if she would have voted to end the game with him.
I think she would have found a reason one way or another to get rid of the other traitor.
She just wanted
all the money for herself. It wasn't selfish. That's the game. That's
it's just interesting because that's the excuse she used, wasn't it? To sort of to say to herself, I guess, to sort of warrant it happening. But I wonder if it was Christian or Cody instead of him in that place who'd been there with her since the beginning.
I think with Christian and Cody, she would have reasoned that she was the one who kept the boat on course while those two continuously kept making ridiculous statements or fouling up one way or another that caused her to then having to re-steer things back into the direction that really she did have control. I did say
she had composure as well the whole time.
She had control throughout the whole time, and I did say in previous episodes that I felt like Christian had taken over that control, but
and ran with it wildly.
Well, that's the problem. As soon as he had
speeches,
as soon as he had that, he then made that big cock up, and he messed up by saying,
Although,
"I got recruited by the traitors."
In the end, they did say he's a good actor. Because there was all this time he was a bad B-list actor before, and now he's a good actor.
Throwing out compliments.
Yeah.
She blew a kiss his way. He was like, bye, everyone, bye. And Kate was like, oh, I'm going to miss him, really. I saw, this was a different Kate on this episode. Mm-hmm. She even nominated herself.
Wow. That was the biggest twist of the episode. Not the final around the fire pit.
Yeah.
Not Siri backstabbing everyone. The biggest twist was Kate.
The challenge, the self-nomination.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she actually nominated herself to do the
Jumping out of a helicopter.
grueling physical action of the mission.
Yeah. Jump out of a helicopter into a lock and then swim to a
Freezing
flag
cold.
to get 2 numbers for a padlock.
The production couldn't believe it.
No one could believe it.
Do we need to stop and refilm? Did you know what you're saying yes to,
Yeah.
Kate? But no, yeah, she does. And she did it professionally.
The funny thing is that no one even kind of stepped forward and said, Kate, no, Kate, Kate. No.
Are you going to take over the helicopter and just fly away? Is that what your plan is with the money?
Back to Hollywood.
Take the money with her.
She'll get about, well, not even an eighth of the way to the Atlantic Ocean and then just realise that she's got no fuel left. And she'll be like, oh dear, I've messed up again. She'll be the ghost like Brandy. She'll be haunting that castle forever. Why did you vote for me?
But
Why
she did
you
it
trust
though.
me?
She went in that water. I wouldn't go in that lot.
She did it properly as well.
That must be so cold.
As a person who had to do their water proficiency for a job that I once had when I was in my early 20s, I know for a fact that you need to cover your nose with your right hand. I'm doing it right now. Then cross your left arm, hold onto the life jacket, legs crossed, and then just like an arrow straight jump into the water. Harry, he was like flailing all over the place.
No, he could have
Wore up
dislocated his
nose.
shoulders there.
Yeah. But no, she knew exactly what she had to do.
I wonder.
Kate
she's
knew
from
what she
Below
had to do.
Deck. I don't know what Below Deck is. I'm assuming it's on.
It's a reality
boat,
show on a.
because it's called Below Deck.
Yeah, it's on one of those.
So
Not what are those like a
ship?
cruise?
I don't know.
It's not a cruise liner. It's a small
Container.
cruise.
A yacht.
A container. Yes, she
I
lives in a
don't know.
container
I'm
with a tin of
assuming-
baked beans.
My point is, I'm assuming that she may have be used to jumping into bodies of water, maybe. So she was like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah, she did say that, and as well to Alan. And Alan said this isn't quite the same thing. She said, "Oh yeah, I know how to jump into water from a
It
boat."
was the same thing, Alan, because she did it, didn't she?
Alan was.
She got that flag up, and it was all
Our
good.
jaw was so far slammed onto the ground that it's still bruised from the shock from the Kate. It's just the way she was like, "I'll do it." Like, she
Production just didn't know what to do. It
No.
halted production.
Yeah.
The writers' room were just like,
Do we have insurance for Kate? Is this the right thing? Should we be doing this?
"She been drinking this morning? Can anyone check?"
No, she was probably. She was. I mean, she was.
It's all good.
I said she's been getting more and more sober. The sunglasses have gone.
Yeah, her hair's all
I love Kate.
straightened.
I know
blow
you hate
dried.
Kate. I know you wanted Kate gone from like.
I did, and I did
episodes
say,
ago, but
that
she
as
grew
a-
on me.
I did say, as a punishment, the contestants would leave her to the final banishment and then get rid of her, and
Yeah,
they did.
that's
So
exactly what
in
they
a
did.
weird way, I'm kind of glad that happened.
But with good grace.
because she was pushed through that game show. I think the trouble with Kate is she started it. She got into a point where she looked around her and thought, "I'm not going to win." So she kind of gave up. And then once around the time when Rachel left was when she maybe saw a bit of like maybe I do have a chance of winning now, so I may just participate. But no, she left right to the last banishment, and then they got rid of her as a last minute punishment for her. Because I don't think they thought she was a traitor. I think they did think, actually, you've put us through hell, Kate. So
Yeah, you don't deserve
you're not coming to
a
the fire
cent
pit.
of that $250,000. No, they've made up the money as well in that
I know
challenge.
there's loads of money going.
I did
And
think that was a bit
Andy nearly
ridiculous.
ruined it all.
Oh,
That was so
didn't they?
frustrating. And
Oh, I
Quentin.
was so peed off with Andy. I was screaming.
It was like the symbol was there on the floor, and right
Yeah.
next to it was a huge rope. And it's
They
like,
threw off
don't
the
think it's
symbol.
here.
They threw off the symbol and just went, "Nope, it's not here," and then started running toward the pig pen.
Yeah.
And then they were going, "No, can't see anything."
And then
Where
Kate
exactly
was like,
is it?
"Maybe it's towards the pink house." And the pink house was like a mile down a dirt track, and they
But that's
started
where
running
Kate
up
was.
there.
Kate was at the pink house. She said it's between the pink house and the
Pigs.
boar,
Yeah.
the boar pit. But nearer the boar pit. And then Kate started on the radio giving that long speech. She reminded me a little bit of Meryl. Meryl when she got on the walkie-talkie
Long, slow
in the
speech,
British
which
series.
doesn't help for over walkie-talkie in the wind.
Everyone's just kind of turning it down and switching it off as she's talking.
that's
She's giving
so
this long
frustrating.
spiel. But I mean, Andy. Andy.
And they vote him off for that. It's
Yeah,
like, God.
why didn't they see? All they had to do was look up. But then Quentin came along, said this was the
did
spot
the
where the
same,
thing
yeah.
was.
And the
you
rope
couldn't
was
see it
there.
either.
It's like bright white rope in the middle of forest, but it's like it was so
literally
obvious.
on the tree in front of them. It's like hooked around the tree. And what made me even more mad was like Suri was like sat in the dinghy, kind of like, listening to Kate rant to her on the walkie-talkie. And I was like, she could see it. She said, it was above you. And they couldn't hear her or weren't listening to her. It was like, get out the dinghy and
They
do
did
it
get
yourself,
it
Suri.
in the last seconds. I think one has to stay on the boat with the map at all times.
Yeah, but it was the last thing. They might as well just gone.
No, it's the rules. Can't break the
It
rules.
wound me up. It really wound me up. But they got there in the end anyway.
They did finally, the last second. But
like it
was frustrating.
When they do something like, this will basically, you'll get the whole $250,000 on this game. It's like, well, what was the point of the other 8 challenges then? You might as well have just said, right, we're going to do all the banishments, and then I know it's television.
Because it's
you need
American,
to make
they
up
had
an
loads
hour.
of budget probably on because of Peacock streaming. So they were just like, yeah,
What's the point?
round it up.
What's the point?
Because it makes them more ruthless at the end.
I think they would have
Especially
been
Suri,
just as ruthless
250,000
without
on the
it.
number.
Because what was it, 47,000 that last one was worth or something? So they were
38,
still,
I think, yeah.
yeah, so it still would have been worth $210,000.
Yeah, that sounds more impressive, doesn't it?
2010, I'd be happy with that. Someone gave me that. I'd be happy.
I mean, after the fun of the mission, it then all got serious again, didn't it? For the last, we got the last banishment, and then we had the fire pit.
So for the last banishment, I felt like it could have gone either way. It could have gone Quentin or Kate's way. But in the dinghy, on the way back, when they were kind of meeting back up, when Kate and Ari were on the island, they were meeting back up with them. Siri, Quentin, and Andy all said, right, we're in this together. And Suri was like, well, I'm in a bit of a tricky situation here because I've told Harry I'm going to vote for Kate.
Yeah, she's promised Harry something to as the traitors taking it together.
But I've got loyalty to Quentin.
Yeah, and she's got quite a good bond with the two faithfuls, isn't she, Quentin and Andy?
Yeah, which she used to her advantage in the fire pit as well, I feel, later on. But yeah, no, that last... I loved that last round table, actually, because there was no militia. And again, okay, the British series. I'm sorry, I keep comparing it, but it's funny. It's kind of gone the other way around. So in the British series, it kind of was a bit kind of light, and everyone kind of like light on the first few round tables. While in the American version, it was ruthless. But in the American version, everyone was really nice to each other. They were all like, you know what, this is just a game. We all had a great time. We ever had a holiday in Scotland. It was a bit cold, didn't matter. It rained once.
The
We've had a few
finals
drinks.
of the US and UK one was so different in tone because on the UK one, it was like it had still made you have that sick feeling, but it was also that feeling of like
relief,
like triumph because something happened. We don't want to spoil it, but something happened, and it's like, oh god, this is so good because they're about to unravel everything. And then this one was just horrible because I do think Suri, Andy, and Quentin did form an actual bond, and I think Siri did
big time.
She said, everything I've done is actually true. It's just I'm a traitor.
Yeah. I think Andy was the most hurt because they even said that you were like a mum to me in this castle. And I mean, Suri. I mean, the thing is, like, even so at the banishment, Kate got voted off. As we said, Kate and left with very good grace.
Yeah, and that brought
better than Rachel's. May I add?
It was. Yes.
Rachel really tainted her name on this episode, on the last episode,
and that brought Ari like thinking, wait a minute, me and Suri had a pact that we were going to vote out Quentin.
Yeah.
But Suri obviously has the relationship with Quentin and Andy. So like, okay,
what's going to happen at the fire pit?
Why she done this? And,
because then at the fire pit, they have to decide whether they want to carry on the game or not. And you called it as well. You said Suri is going to keep the game going.
Yeah, when we were watching it together. Yeah.
And using the strength of her friendship with Ari and Andy and Quentin to get Ari out.
Yeah. But they didn't even go to a vote though, did they?
Because... I mean, Ari should have fought. I'm sorry, Ari should have fought.
It was odd that, wasn't it? I think he knew, like, I think I've done. It's like I think he knew, like, that's not wasting any time. But I've got an email here from Catherine who mentions this because we asked people to send in because we're doing this final, and they have said, I'll just read the whole thing. As a British viewer, I really didn't understand the gameplay in the final at all. I've seen comments that Suri deserved to win because she was so good on Survivor, but obviously that doesn't mean nothing because this is the Traitors and I'm not from the US. She came across as devious to me. Also, the thing with Ari removing himself from the game, why did he do that? I thought he might have been doing it to try and remind Andy and Quentin that there could be another traitor left, similar to what happened in the UK version. What do you think?
That's exactly
do you think
what
that's
I thought.
what? But they didn't pick up on it, did they? Because
No,
he
they
said,
didn't.
"I was recruited late."
Yes,
And then they're
I
like,
agree.
"Okay,
Yeah, no,
let's end the game."
yeah, no, I think the problem was that Andy and Quentin were both. I think they were maybe a bit tired, but also they were a bit blinded by their friendship with Surrey, and I just feel like they all just trusted one another. But yes, no, I picked up on that as well. It was interesting that Harry said, like, "Yes, I am a traitor. I was recruited later on." It was like that was a clue, and you could tell that was a clue. He was kind of like dropping
I guess
in
they
there.
didn't really have time to sit and think about the last 2 weeks because they ran the fire pit, and it's quite immediate, isn't it? But they'd have to think, oh well, the two traitors were Cody, Christian, and they recruited Andy late.
Third, yeah.
All men. All
That's
reality.
true. Yeah, no women either. Yeah, if they're going on that
it's
theory.
a bit like that, and it's like, okay, so there was two traitors, then you got rid of one, and then Christian recruited Andy. But I guess you don't have time to sit there and think that when you're sat around that fire and you're trusting each other as a three. I guess they're just like, okay, we've got rid of Kate, who was a faithful by accident. We almost got rid of Quentin. Let's just end it because that's the last traitor.
But also, like, Surrey showed her, like I said, at the second round table when they voted Kate, she showed her loyalty to Andy and Quentin, and so I feel like they both thought they were safe with one another. They were safe to kind of finish the game at the fire pit. Did you enjoy the fire pit? You loved the fire pit in the first.
I think the fire pit is such a good end game.
Yeah.
Just visually. I don't know, there's just something that's so fun about it because it's like you don't know who's voted what and like throwing it into the fire, and it's all very, because the traitors, even though it's a game show, it's quite if you take it seriously, then it's quite like theatrical and dramatic with the hoods and the going up, murdering in the night, and like, I don't know, it's just something about throwing fire in and it changing colour.
It's almost cult-like.
Yeah,
it's like
I really
a cult.
like it.
Like people are kind of like leaving the cult, and so they're throwing these powders into the fire.
That's what
to change
was
the
my
colour.
my worry going into the US series, because it was half celebs, half. I thought, well, they're not going to take it serious, because there's something about the traitors that if you go on it and you take it seriously as it is, it's really funny. You get really into it, and I was worried that they weren't going to quite do that. And I do think it took a while. This series took longer for me to sort of get into than the UK one, I think.
I think in the
end it was still good. It was just a very different game.
Series 1, 2 and 3. Series 1, 2 and 3, sorry. Episodes 1, 2 and 3, I wasn't... The thing is, in the British version, I liked episode 1, I liked episode 2. Episode 3 hooked me. And I think the BBC knew that, hence why they released all 3 episodes in one go to start with, and then did it episodically after that. And it felt similar with the American version. By about episode 4 or 5, not to say I didn't like it, but by episode 4 or 5, I was more hooked.
It took a bit longer to get.
By that point. Yeah,
same. I was the same.
And I was on board. And I think it was by 4 and 5 when I started to realise that I kind of like Kate. And that kind of made me the ride a little bit more, because I think if you went into it thinking, oh, Kate's such a douche, she's so annoying, I think it ruined the show a little bit for you. I'm glad Brandy went out early. I think if Brandy and Kate stayed in it
together,
then it would have been awful.
We had another email from someone called Amy who said similar things that the last email said about Ari giving up, and that they shouldn't have done it
so much.
They think they were trying to point out a bit similar to the UK one that, oh, there is another traitor here.
Yeah.
But they've also said, I just want to say I really appreciate the journey that you went on with Kate, as I feel like I travelled the exact same path.
Oh.
She drove me mad at first, but by the end, I liked her. Her jumping out of the helicopter sealed the deal for me. Thanks again for making such a great podcast.
Who's that from?
That's from Amy.
Amy, and I, kindred. Honestly, I do. I'm sorry. I love or hate Kate. She kind of made the series in a weird way. She really did. Her and Surrey, I feel, were the two... Oh, no, sorry. Her, Surrey and Christian were my 3 favourite characters on this series, and I really enjoyed them.
I thought Andy added quite a lot as well, even though they were quite quiet and subdued, but they added that sort of heart. Or
the funny thing
it's
with
so
Andy,
sad that they didn't win the money as well.
I know, I must say, I wanted Andy to
that's
win
why
a
I
bit of
felt
money.
so sick at the end, when if I put myself in Surrey's shoes and I had to stand there in front of Quentin and Andy and say, I've just stolen money from you. It's just like, I wouldn't want to say it. I don't know how she got through that, really. It's just,
Should we do
awkward.
GoFundMe for Andy? They did deserve to win. I have to say I'm with you because Andy was the one, kind of like the secret squirrel, and her their cat-like skills on the laser beam game. But they always were. We made fun of it, but they were always the one that kind of piped up at the last minute and almost turned opinion.
And everything they added was
useful,
meaningful.
Yeah, and it did turn opinion quite often. So I don't know. I think you're right.
We don't really know. I feel we didn't. It's tricky, the US one, because I feel we didn't get to know many of the contestants very well. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if there was more screen time devoted to other things, but not a lot of the contestants you got to know, even the celebrities or the civilians. Like Quentin, I didn't feel, even though he made it to the final, I didn't really feel like we got much time with him. It was really odd. And even the three traitors, like in the UK version, the traitors felt like they were the main players that you sort of saw the most and felt for the most and got with. But on this one, I don't feel like you spent much time with them, like plotting and stuff as we did in the UK. I don't know if that's
yeah, you're right. I don't think they plotted when they were deciding their murders. It felt like that was cut short quite often. I felt like I learned a lot about Suri, I must say. I felt like I learned a lot about Christian. Perhaps not so much with Cody and Ari though. I was with you with Quentin though. Quentin was it was weird that they kind of, because normally TV shows kind of focus more on the people. You can kind of guess sometimes who's going to be in it for longer.
Yeah, by how much screen
time they're gaining.
Well, that's down to Kate then, isn't it?
I must say, I think this is the one thing I would say about Kate. As much as I loved her and I loved her journey,
she's a camera hog.
The producers obviously enjoyed putting her on screen, and obviously some of her sound bites were more interesting than perhaps others. I mean, your soundboard alone, I think at least half of them is Kate related.
I love judging people.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Kate, are you sure?
Yeah. You sabotage one little mission and that's all people remember.
There you go. So you've proven my point. So, so clearly she's
Kate provided
left a stain on you as well.
Provided the sound bites for this series. But yeah, I mean, Suri ended up winning. It came down to the last moment. They all decided to end. They all trusted each other.
I just couldn't. And the way Suri did it, I mean, as well, it's like if you're going to admit that you're a traitor, just rip off the plaster. Don't dwell on it. I know. Oh God! Don't say that. Don't say I'm a faithful at heart.
He was like, oh yeah, is that good?
No, Quentin smiled, but you could tell it was kind of like a smile.
What do you mean?
And poor old Andy, they were kind of like looking at her as well, a bit like, hang on, is this going to follow up something? Bless Andy. They forgave her with grace. I thought that was a wonderful speech Andy gave, actually. Quentin didn't say a word. He just stood there with his mouth wide open. But what Andy said was very gracious, to be fair. I mean, I said, again, when we were watching it, I turned to you and I said, wouldn't it be hilarious if like one of them smacked her in the face now? But
it's just so awkward. I'm hoping now that we finish the show, I can look up all the people and look up their social medias and see who's friends, who's not friends and stuff. But I hope they are friends because, the American reality show, we've been told in emails, it's much more competitive. Americans like it and they don't take it to heart.
Yeah, but they've gone into this. A lot of them went into this, and we've talked this again in the past. A lot of them went into this thinking it was like Big Brother 2.0, and it's nothing like Big Brother. It's nothing like Big Brother. And so it's kind of surprised a lot of them the way they've kind of felt when they've been banished or murdered. I mean, go to episode 1 when the first murder happened and Reza broke down and cried. He'd literally been on for 12 hours and he was like, oh, what?
But it goes to show, because Suri said, I've done this for 17 years. I've never won the Survivor. I've come to the end, but I always let my emotion ruin my last play.
Yeah. This
is the first time she didn't. She didn't allow that to happen, even though the emotion was probably at higher strength than what the Survivor ones were with Andy and Quentin and stuff. But, she didn't let emotions go and she ended up winning. And she knocked out the last traitor just for the fun of it. Because she could have ended it
with shared pot.
With Arian shared it. But
because she was the only one who wanted to carry the game on.
But that gave her even more faith because she was the one that was like, no, there's someone else, and he
Yeah.
was a traitor. So that was just backing up her faith from the other two to be like, oh yeah, we're a team then. And
I
then,
mean, that's probably why, like you said, Ari dropped out. I just think that Ari should have fought. I would have still fought. I would have at least had a go. The only thing I would say is perhaps Ari thought, you know what? I want to leave this show with dignity.
well, he did say that to her, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said like, he said something to, basically to Suri without saying it to her, but like,
perhaps-
can't be this ruthless.
Perhaps because of the shenanigans he got up to on The Bachelor, he thought, I can't be the enemy again. I cannot be the enemy again on another reality show. So he thought to himself, you know what, the best thing to do for my career right now, because he could get asked to do The Bachelor again. Well, actually, no, he can't.
He's
He's
married.
married. I don't know. What could he do? Big Brother. Does Big Brother still happen in America?
Yeah, I think so.
It still happens in Canada, doesn't it? Because when they had, they did a season over COVID, and they all got told that they all had to like leave the house, and it's like everyone said that's the safest place to be right now, like this self-contained little house. I don't know what goes on over there. We got Big Brother coming back over here, haven't we?
Yeah, well, that's rubbish. The Traitors is way better. So.
The Traitors are much more. Traitors feels like an evolution. Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't like when they bring back like reality shows that have kind of
Run its course.
This is like they're coming to get me. There's like an evolution with the Traitors. It feels, and that's why we all constantly say that this isn't Big Brother. This isn't Survivor. This is a whole new kettle of fish. And to go into it with that mindset, it'd be interesting to see. And this is for all versions of the Traitors. In Australia, UK, America. It'll be interesting to see what season 2 brings, because now people know the game. People know what they expect. Because it's the same with the UK version. They didn't know what to expect on the show. A lot of them brought like one set of clothes with them, thinking that that's all they needed for the whole thing.
Aaron only bought one pair of trousers.
Aaron's
famously.
trousers. If you know, you know.
It'll be interesting, especially the American one, because the American and UK one filmed back to back, so the challenges were the same, location was the same. So it will be interesting to see. Hopefully, Peacock pick it up for a second, to see if they'll do different challenges. Will they film it in America instead? Do you think, or do you think they'll continue in the castle?
It's a good setting, the castle.
Yeah, because they film the Circle US and UK, don't they?
Well, they pretend they don't know. They pretend it's
but
not.
it's filmed, yeah.
But it is in the UK.
They can't really pretend that.
It's a little secret for you guys. If you're watching the Circle on Netflix, it's not. They're not in America. They're filming it in the UK, guys.
And, yeah.
They're building in the UK.
And I wonder if they'll have different challenges, or if they're going to film them back to back again and have the same. I quite like them to have different challenges. They had a few this series which were different, but not many. Most of them were
The Spot the
same.
Difference one, I think I'm glad they dropped, because that was a failure.
Well, they dropped the sheep one, thank God, from the UK.
I loved the sheep one. How dare you? Maybe they'll do an international version. All Stars.
No.
Australian, American, and UK contestants.
All Stars Traitors would be stupid.
Oh, I agree
I'm
with
afraid.
you. It's the same as
Once you've done it, you've done it.
It's the same
There's
as
no
that if
point.
they did a celebrity version in the UK, a celebrity version of Traitors just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work.
We've got one last email from Edward. Thanks
Edward.
for all your work on the podcast. I love having something to fuel my Traitors addiction and have been with you from the start of the UK series. Claudia. Do you remember her?
I love Claudia. Her fringe.
Right, they say, one thing I wanted to raise was what you thought of the psychology of the end game. There was a moment where I thought that Suri was going to split the money. Her connection with Andy was so strong, and you could see the pain that it caused them both when Suri confessed to her traitorship. I wondered if there was a moment in her head where she thought she could share the money with Andy and Quentin. I did say that, didn't I? I said throw him 10 grand each. Come on. But
Give him a bit of the money.
you know.
I mean, that's not an option, is it, really? I think...
Well, afterwards you maybe could do.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. You could do... Or, like I say, start a GoFundMe. I think it was very bittersweet for Siri to win, because you could tell, because Alan Cumming had to come over to her, kind of give her the hug, kind of give her the congratulations, said, you played really well, you deserve to win all the money. And the whole time you could see she kind of stood there looking a bit like sheepish, like, oh,
yeah.
was it really worth it now?
It was a bitter taste, this money.
It really, I think it was bittersweet.
But she did say, in the end, my family do have to come first. So she did it for her
then
family.
Andy is her family. Andy said that
Mother.
Suri was their mum.
I know, it's tough. But
Quentin, nah. With a sheepskin coat, get away from me. But no, it was the Andy and Suri connection. That's what hurt. That's what hurt. And I feel like if it hurt me watching that happen, played out in front of me.
I mean, is Suri going to retire now from her reality show life?
Not. She's been doing it for 16
She's finally
years.
won.
How do you build a career in doing reality television?
Do Survivor, then do Survivor, then do Survivor All Stars,
Yeah,
and then
of
do
course, yeah.
Traitors. No, I don't know. I don't know anything she's done. I need to look them all up later.
A lot of drag artists do it on Drag Race.
Well, Drag Race is different because there is like 1,000 different series of the same thing.
Yeah, but what I mean is it's like this
All
kind
Stars.
of bubble of drag artists who just kind of just circulate around the
Well, some people do like game shows, don't they?
game shows.
Weakest
Is
Link,
different.
Millionaire, Pointless, Tipping Point. Let's go round.
Yeah, but reality shows is different because you're on people's screens and you learn who they are. On a game show, you're just almost kind of just like a face on a game show. Ollie Murs did Deal or No Deal.
Yes.
And then did X Factor.
Random thing. But I mean, I think you can build a career if you're clever on the Traitors. It seems to be this big cult-like phenomenon.
Oh, you mean
it?
now they're going to
now
build
the Traitors?
So you think it's going to pick up a lot of their careers now? Oh, I hope you see more of Ryan. I hope he does like a tour. A tour of
He
book.
can host Splash US, can't he?
They did a series of Splash.
Oh, did they?
They've done 2 series. You remember the guy
Kate can
from...
host This Morning.
No. You remember the guy from Drake and Josh, but not Josh, so Drake.
Yes.
Drake Bell. He
Drake
did Splash US.
Oh,
There you go. There's a fact for you.
don't talk
When you had
about him
moppy
anymore.
hair, you
He's
looked a
been
bit like him,
cancelled.
didn't you?
He's been cancelled, so
Has he?
yes,
Oh, you have to tell me about that off air.
it's very bizarre. Anyway, he
yeah.
changed his name to a Mexican name and did all this weird stuff in like Mexico, I think.
What?
Do you not know that?
No.
He changed his name and he's like a music career but under a different name. But like all this weird stuff came out about him.
Because he wrote the theme to iCarly, didn't he?
I don't know.
So he's probably making a bit of money from Paramount Plus right now. Maybe he'll be in the next series of The Traitors.
The next series, do you want it to be half celebs, half
No.
civilians again?
No, all civilians.
For US?
Yep, completely clean.
All
clean
civilians.
slate. All civilians. Aye. Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
I'm the same.
Much better. Much better.
Yeah, I
Because-
wanted to know more about the civilians. I don't feel I get to know any of them.
Also,
To be
I think
honest.
because it was a shorter series in America. I know only 2 episodes, but we had 12. They had 10. I think they should either increase the episode length to 12, but keep the same number of contestants to 20, or reduce the number of contestants. I think that might help things along a bit. You might get to learn them a bit better because it's like The Apprentice,
Just needs
isn't it?
some more fairer editing, I feel.
Oh yeah, or better. Yeah, not better editing. That's unfair. But yeah, fairer.
Less
give everyone
of
a go.
30-second montages of people looking with their mouths open and more actual conversation.
Again, that's down to the whole cutting to an advert, isn't it? To a
Yes.
commercial break in America, which we don't have that problem with on
No,
the BBC.
it's funny watching the UK and the American one because the editing alone, you can like do a dossier on how like different and stuff it is. It's fascinating.
It's funny also that they're all different lengths on the American version. Like some were 58 minutes, some were 40 minutes. The final was 70 minutes.
yeah.
UK 60, 60, 60, all the way. We know how to do it.
Yes.
British television, the best in the world.
Well, there you go then. So we got through another series of The Traitors.
Oh my goodness, what are we going
So
to
at
do
the end
with
of the
ourselves
podcast
now?
again.
Well,
We didn't think we'd be back so soon, but you know, we're here.
glad we are,
We've
though.
binged it all, and then that's all done.
yeah.
I feel deflated, like Andy at the end of the series. Now it's over. I feel like it's all been stolen from me. But you know, hopefully they'll be picked up for more series. Series 2 of UK, Series 2 of America. Mm-hmm. There's the Australian one, which is coming. It's been out for a while, I think.
It's
and I
been
think
out
quite a
since,
lot
like,
of people have watched
middle
it.
of last year in Australia,
Yeah.
but apparently the
coming to
BBC,
BBC,
are in
allegedly.
talks, negotiations to bring it over
So,
to the UK
we'll
on
see.
iPlayer.
I
But
don't
if that's
know.
the case, would everyone be interested for us to do? I know, as we said, the
I think
Australian
it's
series
quite
has been
old
out.
by then. I don't know,
Well,
but we'll see.
Let us know if you'd be interested for us to do if we can, the Australian version of The Traitors, if it does come to the iPlayer in the UK, or if there's a means we can maybe find a way of watching it. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at Traitors Podcast, or email us faithfultothetraitors@gmail.com.
Yes.
I know there are other international versions of it, but sadly we can only speak English. we're
know,
we're
yeah,
ignorant
the
English
original
people,
version, isn't there?
and
But it's
we're
not English.
there's a Dutch. I think there's 3 series
Oh,
of
is
the
there?
Dutch
Oh,
version,
God.
and I believe there's a version in Belgium,
Don't know.
but it's who makes it?
I don't know.
is it RTL in the Netherlands? Basically, it's the same people. It's the same. I believe it's the same people who created Big Brother. So it would be bound to be, if the other versions are taking off. They could beat them up. I bet there's a Canadian version at some point.
I
bet you a
cabin in the woods.
$250,000 that is the Canadian version coming. But
make sure you subscribe to this as well in case our feed updates randomly for any extra bonus episodes that we can do or stuff like that. 'Cause you never know what's going to come up in the future.
That's right. And keep an eye on our Twitter as well. So follow us on Twitter and, as you say, subscribe on our podcast feed. Mm-hmm. And if you are listening to us and you think we're worth 5 stars, then go on, tick that box and give us 5 stars and write a nice review as well, because we'll get ourselves out there a bit more.
There you go then.
Thank you to everyone who has been as well.
So there you go, another series wraps up. Faithful to the Traitors, and I'm sure we will see all of you guys again soon.